Now, Brian, you had brought in this article that said 25% of people, 1 out of 4 Americans, supports the idea of secession, of the United States breaking up and not being so united anymore.
Yeah.
Or at least maybe parts of it breaking up.
Do they support the idea, or do they support the right?
The idea.
Okay.
This is from Slate. And that's an interesting point in itself, is that Slate kind of gets this, I think it has this reputation of being what they call a liberal rag. Okay. And
I think it's far more relevant to Salon than it is to Slate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Salon has been on the warpath against libertarians lately.
Yeah.
Slate has done that too, but they haven't been hitting it so hard lately.
Yeah, the point I like to bring up, though, is that even from, whatever news source, there's always something to kind of glean from any one of these. And, that doesn't mean there's even a positive spin to this fact in this article.
Yeah.
But
now, I just want to say a couple things before we begin with this. The headline says a lot, right? 1 out of 4 Americans.
Almost 1 in 4.
Almost 1 in 4.
Yeah,
okay,
so 3 and maybe 3/4 of Americans, which 3/4 of American, I'm not sure what that looks like. Maybe somebody that's like 125 pounds. I don't know.
Right. Well, I just think that's an interesting headline, and we'll find out more about that in moments here. But also, there was this proposal recently to break up California into 6 different parts from Tim Draper, and that had actually quite a lot of support.
It got
a
lot of support.
surprising amount of support from people in California.
It didn't fly, though, right?
No, it did not go through, but they are bringing in third parties to count. And obviously the people behind that 6-split movement there really have the money to make that happen.
And there have been secession movements in Vermont and Texas and Hawaii, sort of these areas that have
Alaska.
Historical reasons to be a little bit peeved about the inclusion of their geographical landmass in the U.S. And, of course, New Hampshire has the Foundation for New Hampshire Independence and maybe a little bit of secessionist sentiment in it. So it's not exactly a crazy idea like it's sometimes made out to be. Not only that, but public opinion changes. I mean, we actually were in the middle of talking about this secession article where 1 out of 4 Americans apparently supports secession, or at least the idea of it. This is interesting. Can
this is something that I think I'd love to see a billboard up about. If we're going to spend $3 million, let's spend it on the idea, hey, got secession?
Yeah.
Let's get out of this business, because that's probably, in my opinion, that's really the only way any kind of freedom is going to be had. It's going to be pockets here, pockets there. You're never going to convince the masses of much of anything, or you're not going to get them. I shouldn't say you're not going to convince them. You're not going to get them passionate about it. That's really it. Because even when they know the truth, even when they see the atrocities of war that happen out in the open, no lies, they don't care. They don't do anything. So you just got to get your passionate people with you. And apparently 1 in 4 Americans seem to be somewhat passionate. And that's interesting. So I'll read on here. It's from Slate. After Scotland, and of course Scotland was going for trying to shoot for independence to get away from
big in the news.
Yeah, trying to get away from the British Empire, and there's a lot of in fact there's conspiracies about that. But after Scotland, all eyes are turning to Catalonia, where voters will hold a non-binding vote on independence from Spain on November 9th. But maybe America.
That one I bet passes.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I mean, they have. Yeah, it's a all of these secession movements are fascinating and deserve a lot of exploration. But maybe Americans need to focus closer to home. We already knew, courtesy of Slate's David Weigel, that breakaway movements in the United States were feeling inspired by the Scotland independence referendum vote. But it turns out that wanting to break away from the Union is not as much of a fringe idea as some might think. According to a recent Reuters poll, almost 1/4 of Americans said they either strongly supported or tended to support the idea of their states leaving the Union.
Wow.
Yeah, as could be expected.
Oh, their state. That's interesting. I was wondering.
Yeah, right where they are.
I was wondering how the question was asked, right? Like, because if you ask someone, do you support the idea of Alaska or Hawaii seceding, who doesn't live in Alaska or Hawaii, they might say, yeah, sure, who cares? Let them go.
That's what they want to do.
But like, it's different when it's your state.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that's far more impressive, because that means it's not just
They're
a gathering.
committed to the idea.
Yeah, it's not just, the 1,600 people in New Hampshire, or it's not just, wherever these people happen to be. This is everywhere.
They're not just NIMBY secessionists. Do you guys know that phrase, NIMBY?
Not in my backyard.
Not in my backyard.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, NIMBY, yeah. As could be expected going on, the feeling is hardly overwhelming. After all, more than half, 53.3%, directly opposed the notion or tended to oppose the very idea. But what is surprising is that the desire to leave the United States cuts across party lines and regions, notes Reuters, before specifying what you'd expect. Republicans and residents of rural western states are generally warmer to the idea than Democrats and Northeasterners.
Very interesting. I'd like to hear a little bit more about this coming up here on Free Talk Live. Let's go to Daryl in Texas. Hey, Daryl, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yes, I also read that article in Slate also about the people, how 25% of the people wouldn't mind their states seceding.
Yeah,
and I do know. I think like it's kind of like what probably would happen in the former Soviet Union. If one decided to leave, it would be almost a domino effect.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, because I think humans have an incredible capacity to see the truth and to see a better life and completely ignore it.
I kind of think the red states should create their red state America and the blue states should create their blue state America. I don't know what's going to happen to the 10
if we're going to
state...
go that way, why don't we just do secession down to the individual level?
Well, sure.
I'm for it.
I mean, but admittedly, I'm up for any empire breaking apart in any way that it can, and America is certainly an empire.
True. What do you think, Daryl?
I think that red state and blue state that'd be kind of crazy in a certain way, but because some states are more purple than red or blue.
Yeah, there's about 10 of them.
So Daryl, if you just had to take a wild speculation, what do you think would be the most likely state to actually secede?
Probably, from what I've read, probably Vermont or New Hampshire, followed by maybe Texas. But
Cool.
The problem is some of the people running the state. I live in here in Texas, and a guy I used to work for when I was a Navy recruiter in Longview. My recruiter in charge, his brother was in the big secessionist movement group. One of them, the like Republican Texas group or something. And those people really, from what I understand, aren't really well respected because one of their leaders was gotten in trouble for like doing trying to do a land grab scheme, and
I'm sure the media tries to smear them.
Yeah, and Texas really has.
Oh no, this came from the brother who knows these people. It's like no, this is from me. This is from the brother who knows these people, and it's like the guy I work for. His brother was telling me that these people are like that specific group. Mm-hmm. At least at that time, like 10 years ago, they were pretty. They were. Yeah. They were not back then well respected with them. I mean, people who had family members.
Gotcha, Daryl. Thanks for the call tonight. I would love to see New Hampshire and Vermont secede. That would be really cool.
And Texas is the one that kind of has the legal right, quote unquote. Not that I'd pay attention.
They've got the history behind them. I mean,
yeah, but I think they have it where it's in writing with the federal government. We can leave when we want.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.